But we are going to go live to Wellington Rugby now, where their CEO, Steve Rogers, is speaking.
I'd like to express our remorse and sympathies to the victims on this. Clearly, there's a lot of learns from us from that perspective. Clearly, we've got a person that actually in the rugby community that that we need to embrace, Greg. So our sympathies go out to him. And clearly, there are some learns in regards to what we need to do next around that. So you've all seen the press release. I'm actually here to take some questions.
When you say it was a mutually decided decision, was it, or was it the union saying this is the right thing to do, or did Losi come to you?
Absolutely, it started from Losi and his support group. We had been working on this all day, to be perfectly honest, trying to work through the different intricacies of this. And then Losi came forward and said, look, I'd like to go down this track.
Did you see that at the beginning of the day? Did you see that he would go?
Look, to be perfectly honest, when we came to work this morning, or left last night, or this morning from work, to be honest, look, we were still working through what the next steps were to this, because a lot of that's come out in the last 24 hours has been news to us. So we're still trying to work through exactly what should the next steps being there, because through all this, you know, we've trusted the judicial system in regards to the outcome that came through that. And the thing about that was about how sport can play such an important part in people's lives, especially around rehabilitation. So we're taking that really seriously. So, you know, we were really struggling with, you know, we've got that absolute responsibility, but all these other facts seem to have come out.
So what's changed?
It's a lot of different things have changed. I mean, clearly, there's a lot of more information that's come out in the last 24 hours, which we've had to reflect on. We've got an 18-year-old here that's actually been under a truckload of pressure in the last 24 hours. I mean, the media, social media, I mean, there's been a lot of pressure on this young boy. So we've had to put a lot of support around that person. And so that's a lot of thinking's gone into that, and what were the next steps.
Do you not trust the judicial system?
Not at all. I mean, totally trust the judicial system. That's why we initially made the decision that we came to when the
in the past 24 hours. What exactly are you talking about? Because it was all in the court case, you know, last month.
But we weren't part of the court case.
But you just said you weren't aware of some of the information that's come out in the last 24 hours, so what information are you referring to?
So there's been the extracts that come out from the court, the judge when he made his summation. That's a lot of information that's come out in that.
Did you not pay particular attention to this court case as you are an employer?
We were not even, our participation in that court case, or let's first of all start where Losi started. Losi got contracted with Wellington Rugby in 2014 under a provincial union development contract, and then he had a full provincial union contract this year. So, I mean, he's been part of the rugby environment for some time, except part of our responsibility, total responsibility for the last 12 months.
Should you have paid more attention to the case, because you obviously would have known who you're going through?
We knew that there had been an incident, and we knew that that incident occurred in October last year. We were not privy to the details of that. The only information that we were asked to provide was they wanted what could happen if this particular player, or not this particular player, if a player got a conviction for assault. So we gave a generic response to that. It could have been anybody. What the potential outcomes of that were.
You say you weren't privy to it, but I mean it was a public court hearing, and as we say, he was, you know, you were his employer at the time. Why didn't you pay attention and attend any of the hearings?
Well, most of the time we actually were not aware when those hearings were. When the judge actually came out with his final decision, I think that had been deferred a couple of times. In fact, at that period of time, the Wellington team was actually in the Wairarapa at their camp. So it was moving all the time.
So what did the rugby union actually know when you signed Losi on for this latest contract? And did he have to disclose all of this situation?
So Losi was signed on a 2-year contract in December 2014, which went through to the end of this year. After the decision, the verdict came in August this year, in regards to he didn't have a conviction. We sat down and said, fine, we will extend his contract through, because clearly the judge came out and says rugby plays a really important part in his
Do
rehabilitation.
you think there's something wrong with that though?
In what respect?
In that respect that there's this entitlement some people think rugby players have, that they are going to get off. I mean, can you speak to that?
No, I can't, because you'd actually talk to the judicial system on that.
So what sort of
We're
support?
not taking a more active interest in that.
I think there's always something in reflection you can look back and say you could have done something different. Absolutely.
At the
And
end
now
of
you're
it,
losing one of your players because of this.
What we're losing for Losi is he's not lost to rugby. He's not lost to sport. The person has a chance to take this as a mistake that he's made, which he's very remorseful for, learn from that mistake and move on. So sport can still play a really important part of that, and we will still play a part in that ourselves, because we have a duty of care as being his employer.
So does he no longer cut ties completely with?
Supporting the victims as well?
Well, as I said when I started here, is that clearly there's a victim here in regards to another rugby victim, and I actually take that on board, and I think that's something that we need to be taking steps to approach Greg in regards to how we can keep him in rugby if he wants to be in rugby.
Has he completely cut ties with Wellington
I
Rugby?
seriously don't know. It was only yesterday that we found out the name of this person.
But you're willing to maybe...
Absolutely. If Greg is willing to come in discussion with Wellington Rugby, there are plenty of other active roles within Wellington Rugby that Greg can participate if he wants to.
at the end of your press release, you do say that he's going to remain within the rugby community, but obviously today you've made the decision in consultation to mutually end the contract.
Yes.
What do you mean by having further involvement in rugby?
So just like any other person that wants to go and join a rugby club, Losi is free to go and join a rugby club and play the game of rugby.
So can he play amateur?
Absolutely, he can play amateur rugby, just like everybody else can.
So that the contract will only stop him from playing professional rugby for Wellington. He can still play within the Wellington region.
He can play globally if he wants to. I mean, what we have is that he was under an apprentice provincial union contract. So you don't make a living out of a provincial union contract. It actually gives the ability for a short period of time to actually focus totally on rugby. That opportunity at the moment is not on.
Could he come back then?
That's Steve Rogers, who is the Wellington Rugby CEO. He's speaking live at a media conference that we have been taking from where the Wellington Rugby team trains, talking about the fact that the Wellington Rugby Union and Losi Filipo have agreed to end their contract. Losi Filipo discharged without conviction for those assaults. His contract with Wellington Rugby is over.